Hello, Amanda or Mandy. This will be some milestone 2 feedback for you. And I'll begin with 6-1, so I'll actually be looking forward to what you submitted this week. And good going. I have enjoyed our text exchanges. I know it's a bit frustrating that our schedules seem to be at odds. I know you're incredibly busy, but it sounds like that's going well, and you're doing well in the class. Mandy, this is terrific. Before I launch into the details, this shows a lot of um, questions answered, I think. And yes, it needs a little bit of refinement, maybe, especially typographically. Um, but you've got a lot on there, including a very appealing background image, which is almost one of the corporate colors. You've figured out how to make the logo transparent so that it floats well over, a variety of colors and backgrounds. You created the unordered list. I think you know how to do that. I see that you used your printed menu, which answers, I think, some questions that you might have had earlier, and that's great. Here's the challenge, and it is possible to do. Doesn't have to be done in this class, but if this becomes a portfolio piece, you might consider it. See if you can get your print typography to match your web typography, and vice versa. So I like this. You're using your Photoshop skills. I see in your photography practice and in applying type. So there's a lot to recommend about it. So I think moving forward. Okay. So a few little things I would suggest. Maybe too many bands. Perhaps get rid of the borders around boxes, and if you can, wouldn't it be nice to have to float the navigation over this wood background image? But don't want to complicate things, and but you've got a solid start. Let's see. You can also nice, and you've got some content on each page. Now you'll want to have the same navigation in the same place on every page. So this should fall at the minimum as it is on every page. And let's see, same thing with specials. But here, the nice thing about this, and you had asked me too, does every page need its own CSS? No, they should all point to one CSS. Okay, and then you'll tag the individual HTML page, but it will point. All the styling will be on an external CSS. Let me see what you've done here. I'm going to open it up and look at the code here. I see that you do have a style sheet. Remember, this is that host code. You don't need to worry about that. And you've got an image file folder. You figure that out. Let's see what your CSS looks like. Okay, it's very basic. You could expand on this, but you've got the idea, and you're able to place and pad containers. That looks good. You've applied some basic formatting to the typography. So it really is a question of refinement, and I think you can probably accomplish a lot in the next couple days. Again, as always, let me know if I can help you. Mandy, these are the original wireframes. You had asked if you only needed to annotate one. One of the differences, or perhaps the only difference, between the week 6 rubric or milestone 2 and the final rubric for the 8.1, I think, final website is the addition of a exemplary category. So if there was an exemplary category on the 6-1 milestone, I would certainly give it to you. Know that I'll have to wait until the final. But you had 3 competent, nicely formatted wireframes. And that's another thing too I admire you for, is keeping all of these almost like presentation collateral. This would be a presentation for a client where you would walk them step by step through building a website, discussing the basic design, perhaps educating them about wireframes, and anyway, I appreciate that this is considered as, you consider this as a total package with an eye towards the client. Mandy, with regard to graphical page elements, that's one of the criteria in the rubric. Well, you're working on it, and you've been able to center things at least. I think, did you use the center command as I suggested? And your typographic hierarchy, I like the bold all caps against this small type. But I think, if there's a way you can limit the line length to no more than 50 characters per line, that would be good. This is a very long line to read. I'm sure you're aware of that. Also, padding. While you can bleed photographs off the edge, type or text really does need some breathing space. So think about adding some padding so that there's some empty space around the perimeter of your type. But you have content on all your child pages. They just lack a consistent navigation. Shouldn't be hard to add that. One CSS for all pages. Mandy, I see that you've got an external style sheet link on all pages. Let me zoom in here. For example, I'm looking at the About page, and when I hit that link, it goes back to your external site CSS. So I'm assuming you've got one CSS, external CSS for all pages. That's the idea. You've separated style from content. Typographically, again, some breathing space around your text. So the only thing these child pages lack, of course, and I don't see it in the code, is the unordered list, the navigation bar. And you can cut and paste that and put it onto each page if you want. Also try placing the navigation in an external style sheet at a later time. But for our purposes now, you can leave that unordered list on each individual HTML page and then control the styling of that navigation from the single external style page. Oh, Mandy, I wanted to say that I like that you take pictures of your screen and then send them. It's a lot easier than doing the screenshot, going into Photoshop, cropping the screenshot, and so forth. But the other thing would be all right too. And thank you also for collecting them in a single document. It's exactly what I meant. It makes it very convenient for me, at least, to see. Were you able to decipher some of the error codes? Let's see what you got here. What I like about some of the code checkers, and I think the W3 consortiums is typical of it, is that they'll give you links to troubleshooting. Now, it assumes, I think, that you know a lot about the lingo, right? But nonetheless, I think, the error code checkers don't just diagnose your issue, they give you suggestions for fixing it. So Mandy, I'm probably looking at week 6 here, or finishing up with week 6's, and I think you're very close, really just applying your navigation consistently across all pages is the biggest hurdle. And then, paying some attention to your typography. Good luck.